Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is Alan. Today's episode is going to have a spoiler from the first episode of the second season of The Mandalorian. So, if you haven't seen it, you might want to click on another video for now. I'm going to wait for you for a second. Okay, gone? Alright, so with the appearance of Boba Fett at the end of the first episode, it brings up a lot of questions to Star Wars fans. The most obvious question is, will Boba Fett help Din Djarin on his mission to find Baby Yoda's kin? Din Djarin now has Fett's armor, and that's a pretty good bargaining chip. But the bigger question, which might have greater consequences on the Star Wars galaxy, is will Boba Fett return to Mandalorian Society? And if he does, what role will he play? From what we can see, the Mandalorians are in terrible shape. These were a proud and warlike people, and their massive crusades and territorial conquests during the Old Republic era attracted the wrath of the entire galaxy and the Jedi. In the past few thousands of years, the Mandalorians have seen their territory and numbers shrink, and eventually the surface of their home planet was rendered uninhabitable by the constant warfare. We know that the surviving Mandalorians that remained on Mandalore would eventually rebel against the Empire, which would lead to the devastating Great Purge. And by 9 years after the Battle of Yavin, what remained of the Mandalorian people were hiding underground in small groups. We're not really sure how many Mandalorians are left in the galaxy by this point, but clearly bandits like Gor Koresh, who surprisingly was paid by John Leguizamo, are now comfortable enough to target Mandalorians for their bes'kar, something that would have never happened when a Mandalore sat at the throne on Mandalore. There could be only dozens of Mandalorians left in the entire galaxy, or the number could be in the thousands, if not millions. But we do know that they are scattered across the galaxy and probably lacking a legitimate leader. The last Mandalore of the Mandalorian people that we know of was Bo-Katan Kryze, sister of Duchess Satine Kryze, the leader of the new Mandalorian government. They were pacifist, which was admirable, but unfortunately their enemies weren't, and so they failed to protect their people. Now, Bo-Katan was a former member of the Death Watch group, but left after Maul challenged the leader of the Death Watch to an honor duel and basically won the title of Mandalore. Bo-Katan would lobby the Republic to send a clone army legion to retake the planet, and finally got full Jedi and Republic support during the last days of the Clone Wars. After Mandalorian and clone forces defeated Maul, the Jedi named Bo-Katan Regent, which by Republic standards made her ruler of the planet. But it wasn't necessarily enough to make her leader of the Mandalorian people, per Mandalorian tradition. For one, she hadn't defeated the last Mandalore, Maul, in combat. That was more of a combined effort led by Ahsoka Tano, and the Darksaber had long been abandoned by Maul on Dathomir, so she didn't have that as a symbol of leadership either. But it didn't really matter anyway, because the Empire would take over shortly after the siege of Mandalore. Bo-Katan Kryze refused to yield to the Empire's demands, and she once again became a resistance leader. Gar Saxon would become the Imperial-appointed Viceroy and Governor of Mandalore, but he too lacked a legitimate claim to the throne. During the Imperial era, the central government tried time and time again to destroy Mandalorian culture. One of the primary things they did was create the Duchess superweapon to target the Mandalorians' most powerful weapon, or defense, the bes'kar armor. This would force Mandalorians that were loyal to the Empire to wear inferior Duraplast armor instead. Now, armor in Mandalorian culture is not only important for combat, but it also has a significant cultural meaning as well. It's basically what identifies the people, much more than their ethnicity or what planet they come from. It's sort of like the Communist Party in China's attempt to destroy the culture of the Uyghurs by assimilating them to mainstream Chinese culture. The Empire understands in order to win complete control of Mandalore, they first must break the Mandalorians' culture. Eventually, Bo-Katan, with the help of Mandalorian Sabian Wren and her rebellion friends, were able to retake the planet. The Darksaber was returned to Bo-Katan, and most of the houses on Mandalore pledged their support to her. But that's also when the Empire came back in force and started the Great Purge. We're not sure if Bo-Katan is still alive by 9 ABY, but it's more or less confirmed already that Katie Sackhoff will be playing her in the second season. Now, the Darksaber is taken away from her, most likely by the Imperial Security Bureau. So it's very possible that she was defeated and maybe even captured and brought in for questioning by someone like former ISB agent Moff Gideon. And so despite the fact that most people look at Bo-Katan as the true leader of Mandalore, her actual execution of the office has been poor to say the least. She's failed to keep Mandalore safe and failed to hold on to the symbol of leadership. This creates a pretty big opening for Boba Fett, whose own past and history is deeply rooted in Mandalorian lore. His father, Jango Fett, at one time was the leader of the True Mandalorians, a highly respected group of super commandos. Jango Fett was a legendary warrior but suffered a fall from grace after repeatedly being attacked by Death Watch. Boba Fett was an identical clone of Jango and inherited all of his attributes and training, which made him equally as deadly. Combat superiority is extremely important in Mando culture, and Boba Fett proved to be an extremely capable bounty hunter from a very early age. Before he was even a teenager, he had already managed to bring down an entire Star Destroyer by himself. Before he was even an adult, he created one of the deadliest and most successful bounty hunter syndicates in the galaxy. A lot of people actually consider Boba Fett superior to his father, Jango. There are also those who consider the Fetts fake Mandalorians for various reasons.
Jango Fett was a common bounty hunter. How he acquired that armor is beyond me.
It's also been rumored that Boba Fett's armor isn't even made out of true bes'kar, although we do see Cobb Vanth shrug off a blaster bolt shot while he's wearing it. Now, the major issue with Boba Fett and his claim to leadership in this case would be the fact that he aligned himself with the Empire during the Galactic Civil War. He wasn't officially serving them like Gar Saxon was, but acting more like a mercenary for hire. The Fetts have always been more attracted to money than duty to the Mandalorian people, which is another knock against him. The Empire clearly becomes an enemy of the Mandalorians, and Boba Fett's work on behalf of Darth Vader will probably be seen in a very negative light by many. For instance, when Din Djarin takes a job on behalf of the Imperial Remnant and delivers, Paz Vizsla confronts him in a very angry way. Like many Mandalorians, he sees any association with the Empire as betrayal to the Mandalorian people. To rub salt in the wounds, Din Djarin was paid in bes'kar plates, which was probably sourced from the armor of dead Mandalorians. Because usually a living Mandalorian does not give up its armor, it's kind of like a turtle in its shell. Which kind of brings up another question: why the hell is Boba Fett running around dressed like a Tusken Raider? Is this a choice that he's made himself? Has he discarded the armor on purpose, or was he forced to discard the armor when he kind of escaped from that terrifying Sarlacc pit? Maybe he was the one who sold the armor to the Jawas in the first place, although it seems more likely that the Jawas pried it out of the Sarlacc's dead body. Not even Sarlacc can survive a collision with a giant flaming yacht. Now, given Disney's current practice of promoting more female leadership for the Mandalorians, it seems unlikely that someone like Boba Fett would become a leader of Mandalore. Also, in the original trilogy series, Boba Fett is clearly seen as a villain. So there are a lot of questions right now that need to be answered, but it would be nice to see at the end of the Mandalorian TV show arc a rebirth of these once proud people. Will Bo-Katan Kryze reappear from exile or imprisonment and face Boba Fett in combat for the Mandalore title? Boba Fett has been out of his armor for at least 4 or 5 years, but he's still the deadliest Mandalorian in the galaxy, in my opinion. Also, is Din Djarin just holding onto Boba Fett's rifle for him? Well, let me know in the comment section below what you think. What role will Boba Fett be playing? We'll find out pretty soon, hopefully in the next episode or in the next few episodes. Tamara Morrison is signed on for several episodes of The Mandalorian, and he is the one who's playing Boba Fett this time around. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below. As usual, life is a movie, and you are a protagonist.